And what we're going to do now, we've looked at how to start strong. Now we're going to look at how to finish strong. All right. And this is where I see so many people fizzle out. It's at the ending. And the ending is the most recent impression that somebody will have on you. So if you don't sort of end your story or end your talk powerfully, then it kind of makes people wonder why they were there. It makes people think about what was your real purpose. So one of the most common things that I see with people when they're ending their talks is to give people too many options to choose from, especially if you're trying to weave a call to action in there. So it's very important that you end with one call action, one thing that you want your audience to think, do, or feel. So don't overwhelm them. Give them one step or one decision or one next move. And then deliver it with a statement, not a question, because it should be confident. A statement shows confidence. A question shows hesitation. So let me give you some examples. Before the week is over, practice your opening out loud 3 times. Once in the mirror, once on video, and once to a real person. That's your brave step. That's how public speaking confidence starts. So that's the one brave step example. Second example is one decision. And this is where we're going to decide right now that you will stop shrinking your voice. From this moment on, when you speak up, slow down and take up all of the space. That decision is the difference between being heard and being ignored. So that's the one decision ending. The one next move example could look like this. When you get home tonight, write one clear message that you want people to remember about you. Just one. Then practice saying it in a single sentence. That's your next move, and that's how powerful speakers are built. So there are 3 examples of how to end your talk. Give people one step, one decision, or one next move, and always make it a statement, not a question. If you want to ask a question, make sure you end with a statement. But most importantly, end it like you mean it. End strong. We start strong and we end strong. It doesn't matter if it dips in the middle as long as we're starting and ending strong. Awesome. So let's have a look at the chat there and see what we've got. Nicole, what if being grounded in your body was the key to your freedom? You can see all the people I've already worked with. You guys have nailed this. Thank you so much for paying attention. It fills my heart with joy. I haven't seen anybody say thank you for coming today. That's great. Kimberly, I'm going to talk about the challenges and experiences of working in male-dominated industries. That is a fascinating topic, Kimberly. So what if we started that a little differently? Does anybody else, Mel, did you have a talk that you had started to put together? Slightly panicked look on Mel's face leads me to believe no.
Sorry, this is the first time I'm joining, so I'm just...
Gotcha. That's okay. You're very welcome. It's great to have you here. So you don't have a talk, so I will not let you panic. That's all good. Let me see. Damarian, do you have a talk that you have been preparing? I know you were here for the last one or the one on Monday.
I'm still cooking it. Still
Still cooking it. That's the spirit. We're going to spend a little bit of time on that today. So the idea behind this is that people will actually have the opportunity to do a little bit of practice at the end, but I'm much nicer to you than I have been in the past. I'm not going to make you do it. If you want to take the opportunity for getting some live coaching, I will grab it and give it to you, but you don't have to, most of you. There are some who need more of a little gentle nudge than others, and that gentle nudge might be slightly less gentle. All right, Jody says, I believe none of us are here by accident and neither is the way your energy works. Brilliant. All right, so let's go back to yours, Kimberly. If we're going to start really strong, I'm going to talk about, we could change that around a little bit. So we could say something that was, if we look at our notes on the start, if we're going to actually start strong, what if we ask a question or a statistic? Can you think of a question or a statistic that you could ask? Unmute yourself there, Kimberly.
Yes. I know that there's only like 2% of females are electricians.
Okay. So what if you started with that? Something like, did you know only 2% of the workforce in the electrical trade are women? Depending on the audience as to whether this is going to be relevant or not. What is a question that you get asked a lot when you're in a male-dominated industry?
Oh, wow. There's lots of things that I get asked. But
what are the most common, like, let's say for me, for example, when I was running a martial arts school full-time, people would say to me, what do you do for a living? And I would say, I teach martial arts. And they'd say, but what do you do to make money? I say, I teach martial arts. So I could start a talk of, what if I told you that you could actually make a living running a martial arts school? See how I've changed that into a question?
Yeah.
Anything coming to mind?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'm very there's lots of thoughts going in, but to be able to pick one out that's going to be like the one, I guess, is daunting.
I have a suggestion for you because because we're working together, I know your background. So what if you said something like this? Let me ask you something. How many times have you been talked over and then watched your exact ideas get praised when somebody else repeated it? Today, I'm going to talk about the challenges and experiences of working in male-dominated industries. You hear that difference? Anybody ever felt like they've been talked over or had their ideas repeated back to them by somebody else? Okay. So that's grabbing the audience's attention. Does that make sense, Kimberly?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would suggest you start your talk with that.
Okay.
Something along the lines, have you ever been talked over not to, or had your idea repeated back to you by somebody else? That kind of concept. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'd suggest that you start your talk with some version of that fits you.
Okay.
Beautiful. All right. Anybody else that has popped something in there? Good work, Jenny Lynn. Who here would like to live a life in love? Fabulous. Good work. You've got your fan club there, Kimberly, in the chat. Excellent. All right. So I'd like you all to have a think about your opening line now and how can you craft that in a way that grabs people's attention. And I'll give you a pro tip here. If you say to ChatGPT, give me an opening to my talk give me 3 openings to my talk. One that's a bold question, one that's a shocking statistic, and one that is unexpected. Then ChatGPT, and put your talk in there, what have you got so far? ChatGPT will give you some options. Everybody knows what ChatGPT is? Yes? Anybody doesn't know? Awesome. Okay. If I'd asked that question 6 months ago, shockingly, I would have had people saying no. Amazing. So I'm going to give you a moment, pop that into ChatGPT if you need to update your opening, and ask ChatGPT for 3 speech openings: a bold question, a statistic, a shocking statistic, or something unexpected. And while we are doing that, I'm going to get you ready, Anya. Beautiful. How many people in the audience here are parents? Few. Okay, beautiful. All right. Throughout this challenge, what I've tried to do is to share with you some theory components about how to become a more confident speaker. And each of these theory components are based on one single theme that I have in everything I teach as far as martial arts, the brain now, as far as public speaking is concerned. And it's a lot of it's based on my martial arts background. And that one single theme is something that I learnt myself, because when I first started doing martial arts, I was, let's just say, not the most physically gifted of athletes. We'll call it that. So I'm the sort of person who takes things very slowly. It takes a lot for them to get into my head. And I really struggled with the idea of being able to pick up a lot of the drills and the techniques that people who were, 20 years younger than me and gifted athletes were finding no issues whatsoever picking up. So it was quite difficult for me to go through that journey. And this one skill that I learnt really helped me with both that and with public speaking. It's transferred across to both of them. And that one concept is that it's got nothing to do with being gifted or talented. It's actually about technique. So if you can learn a skill, then you can accomplish that technique and become that person who, and I ended up competing and winning gold medals fighting in the Australian Karate Federation tournaments. So I went from being very uncoordinated to being quite skillful. And it's only because I understood that concept that you can learn a skill. It doesn't have to be based on talent. And I've done that same principle with public speaking, where once I understood it was a series of skills that layered on top of each other, then I was like, okay, I can learn that. And I've started to learn, and I've grown and developed, and I'm constantly learning. So once we understand that the techniques are there to help us to grow, and it's not talent that you have or you don't have, then it allows you the opportunity to learn those techniques. So what I've tried to do as part of this challenge is to show the techniques, not just tell the techniques. And so Janelle provided us with a fantastic opportunity today to understand how to recover and to recognize that even if we do make mistakes, we actually are more real to our audience and they feel for us. People don't want us to fail. They want us to be successful. So when we do make mistakes, it makes us real. And if we recover from a mistake, oh, wow, that's powerful. You come back after you've made a mistake and been vulnerable, it just lifts you in the eyes of the audience so much more. But anyway, anybody agree with me that they felt really connected to Janelle and really related to her? Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So thank you so much for that, Janelle. One of the other ways that we're going to show what we have been learning and how that can help us to grow as speakers is by listening to our next speaker, who is Anya. And Anya has been studying public speaking techniques for about 3 or 4 months as well. And with over a decade of experience growing some of the world's most innovative brands, Anya actually shifted gears to use her experience building great products to help other parents instead. After giving birth in 2022, it became apparent how underserved the parenting community was. And in the very short years that we have to spend time with our kids, Anya wanted to make sure that our free time, those moments with our kids, are simpler, smarter, and stress-free. In 2025, Playdays was born, a tool that she created to help parents discover activities and to find other families to connect with. And a solution that she hopes is going to really ignite change to the frustration, weight, and loneliness that so many of us currently experience as parents. Anya speaks not to impress, but to ignite change and to remind every parent that ease is not a luxury, it's a right worth building for. Introducing Anya Ruslan.
Thank you, Danielle. Have you ever had that moment where you thought to yourself, oh my gosh, am I a bad parent or what? I have. I was driving to the beach with my family, and we were already about halfway there when I realized I hadn't packed enough food. I knew that my toddler was going to get hungry, and then I started to worry about the oncoming meltdown and how this might derail our whole day. And on top of that, I was feeling guilty, thinking, what kind of mom forgets to pack enough food? I needed a kid-friendly cafe fast, but Google wasn't helping. And while the car was moving, I was feeling stuck and stressed and tense. And in that moment, I knew something had to change. Every parent eventually figures out how to plan activities for their kids and what they need to do. But through my own journey of being a busy working mom, juggling my toddler, my job, on a very slim support system, I know the problems. It's like going grocery shopping when you're hungry. There are so many choices, endless options, and everything feels overwhelming. So instead of exploring, you grab the same reliable items and get out of there as quickly as you can, even if you're bored of making the same meals. I can't tell you how many times I did the same tried and tested activity because it fit all of our needs. At some point, we basically lived in the museum. And although I wish we had ventured out more, I know how stressful and tiresome it can be to put together whole new activities. And I know many parents feel the same way, not wanting to stay home, but also not wanting to do the same thing. And so through that process, I have found 3 things to be true. Number 1 is planning isn't one size fits all. In fact, it's not even one size fits most. Milestones and developmental stages matter. What works for a 1-year-old might become outdated by the time they turn 1.5. And some kids might love busy all-day outings, and other kids just need something close to home because they're going to get tired. And speaking of tired, you also have to consider how us parents feel. Some days we're full of energy and we're up for a trip to the beach. And then the next day you had all these plans, but your kid wakes you up 6 times throughout the night, and you're so tired that all you want to do is just go to the local cafe, and that's enough. And then there are our own family preferences, things like budgets, our sensory needs, the weather, and at some point, maybe your whole life revolves around your child's sleep schedule. So while there's no shortage of activities, finding the right one is another matter. So I built Playdays, a one-stop app for family activities where you can filter what you need, it learns what your family likes, and it makes planning easy. One place to find kids' activities that fit your family and helps you make quick, confident decisions. If choosing something to do with your kids feels harder than it should, I'm inviting a small group of parents to test Playdays for free before launch. DM me the word play and I'll send you the early access link. Families don't need more noise, more tabs open, or more maybe later ideas. They need one trusted place that understands them, grows with them, and makes choosing connection feel simple again. Thank you.
Nicely done, Anya. You nailed those pauses. Unmute.
I actually had my finger down here going 1, 2, 3.
You did super well. Anya and I
Thank you.
just worked on this yesterday, so she's just pulled that together overnight. So congratulations. All
Thanks.
right, who's a parent? Just show of hands for me here. Yeah, so pretty much everybody's a parent. I think you're the only one that's not, Damarian. So, but as I was watching the audience and you were nodding, so I appreciate that feedback. So who would have liked that app? My kids are a lot older now, but I would have loved that idea. So I felt like that really connected with me. Did anybody else feel like it connected with them? Awesome. Okay, so Anya, tell me how you were feeling right before you started doing that.
I think the longer that I was on the call waiting, I was like the anxiety was starting to build up, and I had to like go back in my mind about like anxiety is excitement, ground yourself, do some breathing. But then I compare that to like 3 months ago when I was on a call like this, and it was a 2-minute talk, I believe. World of difference. I felt like this time I was a lot more in control of the anxiety.
Awesome. And how do you think your delivery compared to 3 months ago?
Yeah, I think the pausing and the breathing, there was a big improvement. There's been a big improvement. And I think the pacing as well. I remember when I watched that video the last time, I was going really quickly, whereas with this one, I was like, wait, count 3 seconds, you're all right.
Good work. And I really like the way, because I know your talk, so I like the way you added extra story in there. You really created a very vibrant picture, which is really powerful. So Nicole says you showed the power of the pause. Yes, she did beautifully. And we nailed that down. Yesterday was
Just
quite
see me
funny.
yesterday, there was no pause.
I wrote it in letters about 5 inches tall in bright red. Pause here. And I made her do it about 6 times. So when you did it then, I was like, yes, that was time well spent. But the flow, like we're
Funny.
looking at the techniques now deliberately, because these are the techniques that we can all use. But you can see how powerful the pause and the opening words were. So she started strong and she finished strong. So big round of applause for you. Thank you, Anya. Nicely done.